Welcome to the latest in our AI masterclass for finance leaders. Today's class is going to be on collections, specifically accounts receivable collections. We're going to talk about predictive and agentic collections optimization. For those that don't know me, my name is Phyllis Saavedra. I presently lead the customer success team at Imaja. I've spent the entirety of my career working in all things accounts receivable, order to cash, and revenue cycle. My experience has truly been in leading organizations in their finance transformation journeys that have helped them with automation and improving their accounts receivable, cash flow, and working capital metrics. My experience spans a variety of industries while spending a lot of time in manufacturing, high tech, and those industries in the life sciences. Today, I work for Imaja. Our goal is to help assess the complex environments that our customers have and design and make them future ready utilizing AI and agentic AI and transforming them for the next generation and helping them grow to become modern finance organizations. A little bit about Imaja. No, this isn't a sales pitch, but I want to give some credence to the things that I talk about and let you know that we do indeed have a lot of experience in the accounts receivable and order to cash space. As you can see on the left, we have a good series of marquee customers. We've worked with a lot of enterprise level organizations, helping them grow and helping them in their digital and finance transformation strategies. We've been touted by a number of industry analysts as a leader in the digital order to cash workspace. We've been around for over 15 years, processed almost $1 trillion in receivables through our platforms. Our system is available in multiple languages in a variety of countries. We're affiliated with a large number of finance and order to cash organizations, such as AFP, NICM, and of course, people like SSON and Dun & Bradstreet. We partner with many of the technology leaders in the ERP and CRM space, like SAP, Oracle, and Salesforce. We have partnerships with many of the implementation and outsourcing providers, and we are built on a platform of big data with our partner Solid. As I said, we partner with many of the industry analysts, and they've really come say wonderful things about our company. We're an award-winning company, and we frequently get listed as one of the top providers in the accounts receivable, finance, automation, and AI spaces. We have been listed as a major player. We are a top AR solution, and we are frequently listed as one of those companies that is future ready and able to help our customers. Today's agenda, we're going to cover a few areas and a few topics. First, for those that were not attending my first masterclass on credit, I'm going to go through a quick review of the differences between generative or traditional AI and the difference between that and agentic AI. Then we'll delve into what is the business problem? Why do we need AI and agentic AI in the order to cash accounts receivable collection space? Then we'll talk about predictive and agentic collections optimization utilizing AI and agentic AI. Next, we're going to go into the evolution of collections operations. We'll take a look at where we were a few years ago, where we are now, and where we think we're going to go to in the future. And then finally, I'll go through a few use cases. I'd like to give you some takeaways that you can take back to your company. Maybe use one or two, maybe one or two will resonate with you, and you'll find a way to begin your own AI and agentic AI transformation process. Let's do a quick little review of the difference between generative AI or traditional AI and agentic AI. I would say that the primary difference between the two of those Traditional AI is more predictive in nature. Traditional AI really is action oriented. It answers a question or it generates content for you. You want it to do something, you want it to give you some information, it pulls that information. It's autonomous in nature. It requires step by step human prompts to get to the next level. Please do this. It does that. Then you prompt it again. Well, can you also add on this? It's a series of step by step prompts that get you the information you need. It's logical and it follows a fixed path. It responds very directly to the input that you give it, and it uses static templates to do so. Most traditional or generative AI only work within their own interface. So if you are in, say, Google, it's only going to go, Gemini is only going to go, it's going to pull in the information from its own interface. It's persistent in nature. It improves over time. However, it generally forgets the information after the session ends. It is autonomous in nature. It has the ability to personalize. It has the ability to research. It has the ability to hold two-way conversations. It learns from human interactions. It can execute a task and then trigger the workflows beyond that task. It's goal-oriented. It determines its own next steps. With traditional AI, you need to prompt it to go on to the next step. Agentic AI has the capacity to go on to the next steps and be sequential in its own right. Agentic AI can reason, it can plan, and it also self-corrects. It finds where the errors are and it can reason through them. While traditional or generative AI tends to work within its own interface, the beauty of agentic AI is it can go to multiple external tools. In terms of collections, maybe it's going to go out and pull information from your CRM. Maybe it's going to go out and pull information from a freight provider and pull out a proof of delivery. It can pull in multiple pieces of data from multiple external tools. It often has memory and it can often help you plan for the future. A sequential learning process. Now, one of the things I talked about in our last class was also the need for guardrails. Agentic AI is great, but it's not perfect. You need to know the information that you're pulling in. You need to understand it. You also need to put guardrails around. You need to make sure that there is a protective layer between the user and the model. You need to monitor the inputs that you're putting in as well as the outputs that are coming out. So I think the simple response to this whole thing is we are not putting everybody out of their jobs using AI. People's jobs are changing and they need to be able to monitor the information going into and out of and coming out of this agentic AI process. So let's talk a little bit now about the business problem. Why is it we need to transition to generative AI and agentic AI and beyond? One of the things that we've learned is that the challenge in business collections today isn't the effort. It really is the complexity. We now have much higher invoice volumes coming into our systems. We're seeing fragmented customer behavior, and we're needing to provide data that is more segmented in nature. Our customers want to see things like reports by business unit, behavior by business unit, behavior by types of customer. Perhaps it's tiers or segmentation. We also need to be able to deal with our customers by high, medium, and low risk in the collections area. You're not going to deal with a low risk or a high volume type customer the same way you would deal with, say, a high risk or a low volume but high dollar enterprise type customer. There's a true need in this day and age to deal with each of these differently and systematically. We're also seeing that prioritization of tasks being done manually does not scale. People that are running accounts receivable agings in Excel, or they're even using AI or their ERP to run an aging, does not help them get ahead and be proactive. You might be running an aging and then you might filter on dollar or filter on the over 90 day, but you can never really get ahead. It doesn't scale in a large growing business. Traditional collections that we're seeing, we all know this, they're aging based. They're based on the aging that we run once a week, once a month, or at close. It's very reactive in nature. Very rarely can we get ahead of the curve and be proactive. It's extremely labor intensive. In the one of the next slides, I'm going to talk a little bit about where we were and where we're going. And what we saw is many people went to outsourcing or right shoring of their labor force in order to save money. And that was a way that we were trying to find to be able to handle more and more scales of volume. But what we're doing today is we're seeing that we can handle a lot more with a lot less people. We can give the lower touch, those high volume, low risk type activities, we can pass over to an agent. We can save money by potentially not outsourcing or not offshoring, or outsourcing or offshoring less. And we're finding a way to be able to touch 100% of our customer base. So what are we taking away from this? The question is no longer who is past due, who is overdue. It is who's going to pay late, how are they going to pay, and what actions are going to help generate and speed up cash flow without damaging the customer relationship. Anybody that has been in accounts receivable collections for any time knows that we're also a customer service organization. Managing our customer relationships are very important. I think that's the biggest fear that people have with AI. Is it going to damage my customer relationship? Is my customer going to feel like we're not giving them white glove treatment? So you still need some, as they say, human in the loop activities. But what you need to do is find those activities that might not need the hand holding, where your customer can go in and self-serve, where you can send out collection letters, where your customer can pay automatically, where you can automatically send out calling to your customers, and they can also, again, self-serve. All of this is extremely important, and I think it's where we're going to today, or in the future, I should say. Hopefully, we're going there today, but I think some of us are a little slower at getting there than others. So this is going to be what I would say is hopefully is a roadmap of how to get there. So I see it as there are really three different pillars to the agentic collections optimization. One is that agents can operate continuously and not episodically, that humans operate based on episode. Agentic AI not only produces output, but it coordinates the actions across all order to cash workflow. An agent can continuously look. They can go in, they can look at the aging, they can send the letter, they can provide the follow-up, They can give your customer the ability to pay. An agent also gives you the ability to reply and route any exceptions. They're handling two-way conversations, they're sending documents, they're logging disputes, and they're escalating any issues that need escalating. So agents are taking in information from your customers. For example, a short pay. Maybe it's a tax issue. It could be a trade or non-trade type dispute or deduction. It notes that deduction. Say it's a shipping issue. It can go out and pull in that proof of delivery. Say it's an issue that the system finds that's happened multiple times. Perhaps it needs to escalate that issue to somebody in your shipping and receiving department. Agents can reply, they can forward, they can escalate. We're also learning that disputes are not just exceptions, they're part of the workflow. AI gives you the ability to detect these disputes earlier in the process. You can classify them, you can route them, and it really helps to reduce cash delays. In my experience, I've seen that one of the biggest problems with getting customers to pay timely are disputed invoices. Most of the time when a customer receives an invoice, if there was no problem, if they're not financially challenged, they're going to pay very frequently. Once a problem arises, your invoice gets thrown into the problem pile. It delays payment, and they wait until you have the ability to respond to this dispute. So we're seeing that these agentic capabilities that our agents are helping us to optimize our collection tactics. So let's talk a little bit about the evolution of collections operation. I mentioned it a little while ago in talking about, going from in-house to outsource to right shoring, all of this. What we've seen in the collections operation as we've transitioned from sort of a manually focused organization to a future-ready agentic AI solution is many of us, if you go back 5 or 10 years, everything was manual. Then we started looking at outsourcing because we wanted to save costs. And then a lot of players, such as ourselves, came into the market and we automated things for you. We automated dunning letters. We automated correspondence. We gave people portals where they could make payments. Then things started getting better. Now it became intelligent. It became somewhat predictive in nature. Things were telling us maybe what kind of scoring did we have? Were they a high, medium, or low risk? And based on that, we knew how to perform our next activities. Now we're at a place where things are more autonomous. Think about it. We're going from predictive to prescriptive in nature. We're at a place where we're not just going to predict those that are slow paying. We're prescribing proactive activities. Customer A always pays slowly. My system has seen that. So now, in an autonomous fashion, a letter gets sent out proactively, maybe early in the process, maybe right after the invoice is generated. A letter goes out and says, hey, did you receive this invoice? Please let us know if there are any issues. And then 15 days before it's due, hey, just reminding you this is due. And then if it's past due, it lets, another letter goes out. And then maybe 2 days after that, the collector gets a notification, hey, you need to give this customer a call. Things become prescriptive and automated, and it gives you all the steps, and it gives you the ability to be proactive in nature. It also, we've seen a shift in the technology. Originally, we went to rules-based. You can set up rules, things, this customer gets this letter, this customer gets this type of letter. Then we got to RPA and certain amounts of automation, and then we transitioned to machine learning. So things like we used to have cash application that was machine learning. It got better and better and it learned and it posted cash for us. Then we got to generative AI where we could predict behavior. We could put in certain activities we wanted it to do. And now finally we're at the agentic AI shift. What does this allow for? It allows for dynamic dunning strategies. It allows us to shift our focus. It allows us to look at segments of customers and basically lay out a soup to nuts dunning strategy and a personalized communication. It can go out, hey, Jane at customer A, we want a soft letter to go out. We want it to go out at this interval. We want this to happen if it doesn't pay. We now also have agentic AI, as I mentioned previously, for dispute and deduction management. We can manage any short pays. We can do things like looking at, for those that are in consumer products, in the CPG industry, you can look and manage your rebates, your marketing deductions, all of these things, handle them, have follow-up activities, send out letters, provide reporting. All of this can come in a sequential fashion. We're also seeing the ability now to integrate with collection agencies. It used to be when a customer didn't pay and it fit some threshold, might be over 90 days or over 180 days. It might be over $50,000. We utilize third-party collection agencies to help us with the uncollectible. Well, now with agentic AI, we can integrate with those agencies. We no longer have to make that phone call to the agency and place the account. We can integrate with their systems. Once the customer gets to a certain level, you set the rules, and it goes straight to the agency. If the agency comes back and collects on it, you can receive that information. It will track it in your system. It will keep a record of everything that's happening. Agentic AI also now, like I said, it allows us to leverage AI for proactive and strategic collections. Part of that strategy is allowing our customers to self-serve when they want. We have a global environment we work in. None of us can work 24/7. Agents can work 24/7. You might have a customer in a different country that wants to pay a bill. They go on, they want to see an invoice. Agentic AI will allow them to see the invoice. It'll also allow them to talk to an agent. You could talk to an agent, dispute an invoice, get notified of payments coming in. There are a whole bunch of things that we can do as we see this shift from manual to autonomous behavior. Again, agentic AI and agents are not putting people out of business. It's changing the role of what people are doing in the collections business. Collectors are now handling the high touch follow-up, the white glove customers. They're creating and setting and reviewing the guardrails of what AI is producing. And they're setting all of the strategies and proactive behaviors that the solutions are doing. So let's talk about a couple use cases we've got. How can we use agentic AI to improve our collections, improve our working capital metrics, improve DSO, improve delinquency percentages? One of the first ways is strategy-based task assignment. So we assign the agent based on a certain strategy. That strategy can be follow up in X amount of days, and this event happens after X amount of days, or a proactive strategy, or we have one strategy set for high risk customers and one strategy for low risk customers. We might change strategies based on how we did the credit analysis of this customer. Is this a publicly traded company? You're able to see their financials, you're able to track them, and you have a strategy based on that. Or they might be privately held, unwilling to provide financial statements. So do you want to regularly go in and check and see, has their accounts receivable payment behavior changed over time? Another use case, is forecasting late payment and bad debt. So you can use these agents. Remember, this is prescriptive and predictive in nature. Based on the activities, you can monitor how your customers have been paying. You can forecast, does customer A historically pay 10 days beyond term? You can make that part of your forecast, but you can also develop a proactive forecast that helps you address it to try and bring those 10 days down. You can also utilize third-party sources. If you want to pull in information from various credit reporting agencies or Yahoo Finance or any of the risk monitoring systems, you can forecast bad debt. You can see, you can look and manage any news articles on a customer. Are you receiving adverse information about this customer? So you can forecast that payments are coming in late. You can forecast bad debt and hopefully get in front of some of these to minimize those. Another use case is that you can make things, it's autonomous, and you can personalize the dunning. You've got white glove enterprise customers or customers in a certain region that require a certain finesse or wordsmithing of, say, your dunning or past due letters. All of that can be done using Agentic AI. I talked a little bit previously about automated strategies based on risk. You might have a segment of your population that's riskier. Maybe you have different business units, different strategies based on risk. Again, public versus private companies. All of these things are great use cases for Agentic AI. We previously talked about disputes and deductions. One of the first things that I did every time I was new in a company, and I was brought in typically, as I'm sure many of you have been, I was brought in to improve cash flow, reduce delinquency, and improve DSO numbers. Almost every company I went to work for, the CFO or CAO said, Phyllis, this is what we want you to do for us. One of the very first things I did as a new practitioner in a company was performing a root cause analysis. And I did, an impact chart to see what kind of reasons were out there for my customers delaying payments, what was the easiest to fix that took the lowest effort, and what were the hardest to fix that took the most effort, and went and approached the low-hanging fruit. Agentic AI is amazing for this kind of task. When disputes come in, they come in whether your customer is self-served and submitted their reason for a dispute, or it came in through an agent. You're tracking these root cause. You can set up now a basic strategy that follows up. It can also route these for approval. You can also get proactive. If you're seeing that, for example, customers aren't paying because they say that they were supposed to have a resale certificate on file and you weren't supposed to charge them tax. Well, Maybe it will route to your tax department that says, something that tells them that we're seeing a higher volume of customers that are claiming they submitted resale certificates and we're not showing them. So you can get proactive and fix things. The whole point of using agentic AI is not to get to the back end. It's not to deal with your customers after they've become past due. The real beauty of utilizing generative and agentic AI is to get ahead of it and to minimize it. So I gave you some general use cases. Let me go through very quickly some very specific use cases. So I have an invoice, I have customer A, and they had a $120,000 invoice and they short paid it by $15,000. Now, how would agentic AI approach that? The AI is going to detect the short pay. It's going to identify it as a pricing dispute. It's identifying it as a pricing dispute because it sees prior payment patterns. It routes the dispute to the pricing team. It doesn't go to collections. It goes right to the source of who can help. AI tracks whatever SLA you have with your customer. Maybe you've set up a 48-hour turnaround time for all disputes that they set. It sends a reminder internally. It updates the customer with a note that says, hey, our pricing team is working on your issue. And then once it's resolved, AI resumes the collections for the remaining balance. The collector can see all of this detail in their system and they can track it and keep up with it. They also know it's not something they have to deal with unless it becomes past due. Here's a second use case. So we call this next best action. You've got a low risk customer. AI sends a single reminder 3 days before the due date. Again, this is the proactive approach. For a high risk customer, AI sends an early reminder at day 20. This is assuming that 30 terms. So day 20, 10 days early, it requests confirmation of the payment date, and it also schedules a follow-up. Now you've got a customer that's a dispute-prone customer. We've all had them. It's the customer that delays every payment because every time there is some sort of problem. AI checks the invoice backup documentation before it sends them a reminder and attaches it proactively. We'll go back to the example of a shipping issue. If customer regularly asks for a POD, a proof of delivery, or a delivery receipt, every time you're following up on a late payment, AI can go in and proactively attach that and sort of take the argument out of the people's way. Finally, my last use case, you've got a logistics provider with 5 open invoices with a retailer. Instead of sending 5 different reminders, and many of the automated systems do this, it doesn't have the capacity to consolidate, aggregate, and really think about it. AI bundles them into a single personalized message. It references the preferred payment schedule and adjusts the tone of the letter based on the prior interactions. If everything has been kind, it's kind. If it needs a little more firm action, it can adjust the wording accordingly. The message is sent via email because we know that historically this customer has ignored messages that are in the portal. Again, there are many different reasons why we would use AI and agentic AI. So just to, as a recap, AI, like I said, not a replacement for the collections manager. It's an exoskeleton that allows them to manage 10 times the portfolio volume with at least 100 times the precision. It's, we need to be seen in the collections world as a customer service organization. We want to be proactive. We don't want to chase things down. We want to get ahead of them. So I want to thank you for your time today. I hope that it's been useful. Please stay tuned for information on our next masterclass. I'll be honest, I don't remember the date, but I can tell you that it is the third Thursday in March. I believe the next one will be on dispute and deduction management. If you have any questions, oh, here's the next one. It is March 19th. So this one will be on cash application. Forgive me if I said disputes and deductions. The next session 3, March 19th, on autonomous cash application. I apologize for not having time to take questions directly today. If you have any questions, please email us at imajainfo@imaja.com, or feel free to email me directly at phyllis.saavedra@imaja.com. Thanks again and have a great day.